Am I the a-hole for gifting my mom and her husband a book on cheating for their anniversary? I'm 16 male and I love my mom, 35, but when I was 10, she had an affair and left us. I visited her as often as I could and she always seemed so happy when I was there, but I hated her new family so I stopped visiting. Honestly, we rarely ever saw each other after just for my birthday and events really. She wants us to be close, but I want nothing to do with her new husband, so I've kept my distance. Except on February 20th. My dad announced he'd be out on business till the 12th, and my grandparents are stuck visiting relatives in Italy, and so I really had nowhere to go. And my mom jumped at a chance to have me stay with her. And just my luck that my mom's anniversary with her husband was on Sunday. I haven't had a good time here at all, so all I do is stay in my room doing homework or go out with friends to avoid family activities. Because it sucks seeing how lovey-dovey she is with her husband, and how they seem like the perfect family with their daughters. But the morning before her anniversary day, she came to my bed and tried to cuddle with me like before she left us. But it made me angry. Like, we can't go back in time and pretend it's how it was. So I just pretended to be asleep and stayed curled up and frozen till she left. I started crying because of that, and I felt angry and snarky. My mom majored in literature, so I got her a copy of Anna Karenina for her anniversary. That book's about a lady who leaves her husband and son for her lover. I've never read it, but I watched the movie with my girlfriend and I hated it. The anniversary party was on Sunday. Everyone was having fun but me, and then people gave their gifts. I gave mine, and when my mom saw what it was, she seemed shocked, but just said thanks. The party ended like an hour after, but at night when she was in her room, I heard her crying really loudly. So I kinda eavesdropped a little, and heard her saying stuff about that book and me, and her husband trying to calm her. The next day at breakfast, she left for work early before I woke up, and her husband straight up called me Nahal and other stuff for gifting them that. It's been a few days now, and my mom has barely talked to me. Honestly, I feel so wrong I made my mom cry, but at the same time, I don't want to be here and she knows that. So, am I really the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-fiancé's best friend that he needs to live with the negative impact it played in my ex-fiancé's misery? I, 30 female, am here because the people I'm close to that I would usually go for advice are a little too close to home and biased towards me to give a neutral perspective. I'm going to give some backstory for context first, but if there are more questions, I'll try my best to clear things up. Backstory. I was engaged to my college boyfriend Mike, 30 male, and was really happy. What I wasn't happy about is his friendship with a childhood friend, David, 30 male. The guy was an obnoxious and often rude jerk who likes to play pranks on people. It seems like the more inappropriate or the more people tell him to not prank them, he'll take it as a challenge and either target them more or pretend that he's about to prank them just so he can watch people be anxious over it. I couldn't stand a guy but was willing to tolerate him. And when Mike said that David would be his best man, I was against it. And we got into a fight but I relented. During the objections part, David spoke up and said that he couldn't let his friend marry a cheater. He even went as far as to hire someone to be my fake affair partner. I ran away in tears as David left. I barricaded myself in the bathroom, bawling my eyes out and refusing to let anyone in. I could hear Mike knocking on the door saying that David confessed to it just a prank and that he knows I wouldn't cheat. But that didn't make me feel better. I heard my sister and best friend Jane, 31 female, calling out to me, so I crawled out and left. I called my parents and grandparents apologizing for the whole scene and told them that the wedding was off and I planned to never speak to him again either. Fast forward a few months later and Jane confessed that before the wedding she had a one-night stand with David, was pregnant and going to keep the baby. She was so remorseful about the situation, and after I had my space, I told her that it would be okay and that I'm still her friend. Jane named me as the godmother of her son, Tommy, 7 male, and he's a little cutie. He calls me Auntie, and Mike, who David named as the godfather, Uncle Mike. I will say becoming a dad made David a better person. Although I'm never going to like him, and I guess Mike never got over me and David feels super guilty and wants us to get back together, but I have refused. When Tommy's birthday was coming up, David tried to use that as an excuse to get me and Mike to talk to each other, but I shut that down. I even opted out last minute with an illness excuse. David then sent me a long text about how disappointing it was for not being able to put my past aside for Tommy's benefit, and I took exception to that. We went back and forth a little, and I told David that Mike admire over her, and that he just needs to live with his role in any negative impact that he cancelled wedding cousin Mike. David claims he's just trying to fix things between us, and that I'm being petty. I thought nothing of it at first, but now I'm starting to wonder, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for getting upset at the jokes that I am not family? I, Pam, 29 female, am 4 months pregnant with my fiancé Matt, 34 male, and my first child. His family on the whole are very welcoming and often include me, except for some comments that they make that really hurt my feelings. These comments always refer to me not being a part of the family. At our engagement party that his parents wanted to throw for us, I made a speech saying thank you to the best in-laws. And his mom made a statement in front of everyone how I shouldn't say that as we are not family yet. I would like to add that his mom has had a few phone calls with Matt's ex-girlfriend in front of me, where she would be reminding the ex that they are family. 2 days ago, the mom said that she wanted family photos, but could only do it once my baby was born as I won't be family until then. The whole family then proceeds to tell me how we must not be too sure that we are having a boy, and I'm not allowed to buy boys' clothes. They rained in our parade as we were happy with the news. We would have been thrilled either way, and feel like it is because they thought we were going to have a girl. Matt at first told me that they are joking with me, and that they wouldn't if I wasn't family when I tried to talk to him about it. He has recently started to see things from my side when I pointed out that my family doesn't do this. Then today, I'm on a family group and the uncle posts this exact message. Dear family and Pam, I want to have a get-together for my birthday and was planning a day out in the countryside on Sunday. Is everyone available on Pam? I sobbed and lost it. I phoned Matt and said I'm leaving the group. Before I left, I replied, sorry, but I have family things that day, and exited. His uncle thinks that I can't take a joke. Matt supports me on this and understands why I'm hurt, but a part of me feels like maybe I overreacted. And what if I just can't take a joke? Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not telling my daughter's father that she has cancer? I, female 24, have a 3-year-old daughter with my ex, male 27. We split up in December 2020 after I found out he cheated on me, and since then, he has been almost completely absent in my daughter's life. He has visited a grand total of 10 times, never pays for any costs at all, insults both me and her. It has made nasty posts on his Instagram calling me an ugly, cheap woman. It has made several posts calling our daughter ugly as well. Flash forward to a few weeks ago and my daughter started complaining of pain and was running a fever and had some pretty nasty bruising. I freaked out and took her to the doctor only to be told that it was a virus that would go away and that it wasn't COVID or flu. I called my ex and was trying to tell him how worried I was, but he told me he didn't care and hung up. Because of this, I cut him off and just resolved not to tell him anything else. Eventually, I took my daughter back to the doctors and begged them to do something else. Blood tests and other tests were performed, and it turns out she has B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This is the scariest moment in my life. As I sit here writing this, my daughter is down for sedation and counts. We've been in the hospital since her diagnosis 2 weeks ago. I've cried more than I've ever cried in my entire life, and seeing her tiny body infested with this horrible disease is almost more than I can handle. Last night, I made a Facebook post about my daughter. My Facebook is private, and I'm not friends with my ex or any of his friends. I'm friends with his sister though, but we haven't talked since I broke up with him, so I pretty much forgot about it. Well, she saw the post and told him. I didn't check my phone most of today because I am so preoccupied that I don't have time. When I opened my messages today, I saw over 20 messages from my ex and his mother, calling me horrible names, telling me I should have told them, and that I'm an awful person for not telling them. He called me a cheap woman again, and told me that it was his daughter too, and he had a right to know about this. I asked if he would like to come see her, and he declined, but twisted this to his family and now everybody's mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend's friend who is staying at our place that she can leave? My girlfriend's best friend is staying with us as she is just visiting from out of town. I know she has always resented me a bit for whatever reason. I honestly don't know why, but I've learned to just stay out of her way. When my girlfriend is around, we will talk, but I don't think we've ever even had a conversation when she isn't around us. She's staying for a week and it's been relatively fine. Literally 0 problems the first day. I like to take showers every night after the day is over, which is where the problem began. Our guest washroom is out of service at the moment. The bathtub works, but it's dusty as heck and no one has touched that thing in who knows how long. So we all have to share the master bed's washroom in the meantime. I was taking a shower, and when I came out, she ran in and accused me of using her loofah because it was wet. I had no words. I didn't even realize it was in there until she made a fuss about it. She smelled the freaking loofah and then smelled my body wash and said it smelled the same. I don't even know what to say besides I didn't use it. She said that even then it weirded her out that I was showering while her loofah was in there. My girlfriend tried mediating, told her to take out the loofah while I shower even. But she told me to use the bath in the broken washroom. And I said no because it's dirty as heck, and I've had to spend at least an hour to get all the grime out of that thing. My girlfriend and her BFF had a talk in a separate room, and when she came back, she just asked me to hold off on showering for a week. LMFAO. Yeah, right. I told her BFF she can leave if I make her feel so uncomfortable. And she did. She left and packed her things. My girlfriend was mad at me. She said that she was our guest. And yes, maybe she was being a bit too much, but it was valid to be uncomfortable about the loofah situation. She tried calling her friend, and she didn't pick up once. What the heck was I supposed to do in that situation? Yeah, maybe I could have cleaned out the bathtub in the guest washroom, but I don't understand why I have to inconvenience myself that much just to make her friend happy. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to buy my girlfriend's friend tampons? My girlfriend invited her friends to the house for some girls' time last Sunday. In order not to disturb them, I spent my afternoon outside with the dogs to give the ladies space and privacy. When I texted my girlfriend that I was going home, my girlfriend called me and asked me to buy one of her friend a box of tampons on my way back. I reminded her if her friend needs it, she could give her some of her own tampons, as I recall there were plenty in the house. But girlfriend insisted on me buying a brand new box specifically for her friend. I could hear laughter and some chattering in the background and realized that her friends were nearby listening to our conversation and making fun of it. I asked if her friend set her up for this, and she insisted it wasn't, that I could just buy a box of tampon for her friend like I do for her. I heard more chattering and giggling and felt like a target of some sort of prank, a social experiment, or TikTok. I then stood my ground and said that I am going home. The dogs are hungry, and I won't be buying any tampons on my way back. Things were a little awkward when I reached home, and later my girlfriend said I embarrassed her in front of her friends, that a decent guy should not be embarrassed to buy tampons. I told her I wouldn't mind buying for her, but I see no need to play along with her friends to prove that I am a decent guy. Am I the a-hole for my actions? Am I the a-hole for telling my parents, especially my dad, what happened to my brother was partly their fault because they enabled him? The problems with my brother's weight became so bad it qualified for bariatric surgery. Before the surgery, he ended up being taken to the A&E and was admitted. The doctor told him he needed to lose weight. His food intake was supposed to be controlled, but instead of losing weight, he gained nearly 4 stone, nearly 50 pounds. Turns out, my parents, especially my dad, were sneaking food to him on their visits. My brother lives with my parents, and they bring him food because he's unable to go out or make it on his own. He chooses to eat, but lately he relies on my parents for meals. My dad was even caught bringing him food he isn't supposed to have. The hospital has social workers and the authorities involved. My parents, especially my dad, are being looked at for neglect. And although my brother is an adult, they are looking at whether my brother could be classified as vulnerable due to his addiction, although he is a mentally competent adult. I'm not sure how it will go, as I don't live with them or know the law in this area. But my parents are banned for seeing my brother right now, and the hospital is trying again with some weight loss prior to surgery. My brother needs round-the-clock care, so he's still in the hospital. His weight last I heard is 40 stone 10, 570 pounds. I'm not sure now as the hospital isn't giving my parents updates. When my dad wouldn't stop calling me angry and upset over it, and saying the authorities are out of line and trying to get me to help fund a legal challenge, I told him he shouldn't have brought food to my brother. My mom is furious that I upset him, and says my brother didn't like the food they were giving him, and that dad was just doing what he thought was best. Should I have not said anything about my dad enabling or been honest with him? My mom says I crossed a line because I'm not a carer for him, and it's the crux of the arguments I've had with her. Am I the a-hole for itemizing my household bills and demanding my significant other pay his fair share, now that his 3 teenage daughters have moved in? I, 33 female, have been with my boyfriend, 46 male, for almost 3 years. He moved in with me about 6 months after we started dating. Things were going quite well. He does not work as he is a disabled veteran and collects a pension. I work a decently paying job. I'd make about $60,000 more per year than he does. He would give me a few $100s here and there towards food/bills when I would ask, and I paid my mortgage and the rest of the bills. He was paying about $1,200 a month in child support for his 3 girls who lived with their mom, now 15 female, 17 female, and 18 female. I have 2 girls, now 10 female and 13 female, who live with me 60% of the time and live with their dad the rest of the time. About 6 months ago, his girl's mom decided she couldn't take care of them any longer. She had ruined their family home. No running water, septic was destroyed, holes in the floor, 5-gallon buckets used as toilets, etc. It was awful to discover, and at no point when the girls visited did they share this info with me. I don't know how he didn't know what was happening, but he says he didn't. At that time, the courts decided the girls needed to live with their father, who lives with me obviously. I knew this would be a tough transition for all involved. So for the last 6 months, I've continued to pay for everything and he's given me $500 a month towards their support, food, bills, etc. Their mother has contributed nothing. Upon discovering that I was getting a bit behind with finances, I itemized my spending and determined that my costs have gone up by about $1,700 a month since they came here. Just regular bills, which doesn't include Christmas presents, clothes, salon trips, vacations, going out to eat, etc. that I have also paid for. I showed this to my boyfriend and asked that he started paying me an amount closer to the cost of the spending, at least the $1,200 he was paying in child support before they came here. He became very angry, accusing me of being money hungry and insinuating he was taking advantage of me. Then he told me he would give me $750 per month towards bills. I expressed that if he felt he could support 4 people for less than what I was asking him to contribute on his own, then he should do that. He says I should be okay because it's for our family. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. And what makes this feel worse is that I discovered my boyfriend's ex-wife also was dating a younger person with a good job, and that guy is now suing her for taking advantage of him. It almost hits too close to home. But I do love my boyfriend and his daughters, and I feel like if he should contribute more to the support of his kids when I'm paying the bulk of our expenses. So am I the a-hole?
First, let me describe what kind of aunt that we have. This aunt, or entitled aunt I should say, has been the source of headaches for us as a family emotionally and monetarily. She would always ask my mom and dad for a loan that would take years for her to pay. Where those loans go is one of our biggest questions to date. And whenever my mom or my eldest sister would ask her for the payment, she would always play the quote, "I'm family" card, and be all emotional and shit to play on my mom's emotions. My mom has a soft spot with her family, and she would most likely let it slide. But not my eldest sister. She would constantly remind and warn my aunt to pay her debts, or she'll do something about it. My aunt would then turn to my mom asking for protection from my sister, to which my mom would talk to my sister about it. My sister, though, is not having it, and is just relentless on her pursuit of making my aunt pay her debts. This got to a point where my aunt warned to sue my sister if she doesn't stop, to which my sister openly invited. My sister works on a law firm, so she knows the law and that our aunt has no case at all. Ultimately, our aunt paid, but not without parting words of how our family are a bunch of rude people, and that, quote, she would never talk to us again, and such. But after a month or so, she made up with my mom and everything was well, except for my eldest sister. So, for context with the title, my aunt put her house up for sale due to their children moving out. She had 2 daughters who are all married now. Initially, she said the house was, quote, getting too big to keep and maintain, and that she'd plan on buying a nicer condominium near downtown area. Her house is a 30 to 45 minute drive from downtown. My uncle didn't want to sell it to someone they did not know, or at least does not have affinity to. So, she suggested to sell the house to a relative or a super close friend. My aunt then talked to my youngest sister. I have 3 sisters and I'm the only guy, and pitched her the idea of buying the house from her. At first, my sister didn't really want to entertain the idea of buying a house at this point, as they have 2 kids that they are sending to a not-so-cheap school. But my aunt then pulled the sentimental value card, and it would be a shame if the house was sold to someone else. Admittedly though, the house did have sentimental value for us siblings and cousins. We used to spend our summers over there as it's a pretty nice neighborhood, and we have friends there as well. A basketball course is fronting the house, which is a win-win situation, since they both have boys and her husband is a real good basketball player. My aunt saw this as an opportunity for the boys and her husband to train or whatever. To my aunt's credit, she did have a nice pitch to my sister, so I gotta give her that. My sister and her husband discussed this in length. It literally took about a month before they had their decision. My sister and her husband decided to buy the house, as they have long planned to have a house of their own. But her husband's grandmother begged them to stay at their current house they're living in until his grandmother can return back, as she was sorting something out from a different city. So, they decided to have it leased until they are ready to move. My eldest sister, who, by the way, against all of this, helped with all the contract and legal stuff so they can cover all their bases. The details of the sale aren't really familiar to me, but if my memory serves me right, the house and lot was sold for more or less 1 million pesos. My sister gave my aunts a more than generous amount and time to move out, 6 months. When the time came that everything was moved out, my sister and her husband decided to pay a visit to their recently bought house to see what extent the renovation would be. And to their surprise, the condition of the house was a literal shithole. The walls and ceilings were falling apart. The tiles on the floor were chipped and starting to get chipped. The main bedroom was a mess, and the kitchen smelled like someone died in there for weeks. Although my aunt did disclose that some renovation work would be needed, but she never disclosed the house was that ducked up. But whatever. They decided to have their house renovated, and it cost them another 300,000 pesos. Once the renovation was done, the difference was night and day, as they were not moving into the house yet. They listed the house for lease on some places, and it garnered a lot of interest. The house was then leased to a foreign couple. The transaction went smoothly with the help of my eldest sister once again, and the couple even paid full price for the whole duration of the lease. Everything was smooth as butter. Until yesterday. My sister got a call from the people who leased the house early in the morning, when she was dropping off the kids to school. This was on a Monday, and my sister is usually super busy on this day, and this was one of those days. She answered the call and following ensued. Side note, this is all based from my sister's retelling of the events and convos. It might not be 100% accurate, but I'll try to be as close as possible. S equals sister, NH equals nice husband, NW equals nice wife, and EA is entitled aunt. Sister: hello, nice husband. Haven't heard from you for a long time. May I know why you called? Nice husband: there's someone at the gate claiming that this is her house. My sister: confused? Huh? She might just be a crazy person roaming the area. Nice husband: well, no. She showed me pictures of the house and her in it. At this point, my sister kinda knew what was happening, so she hurriedly drove over there. She was coming from a different side of town, so it took her about an hour to get there. When she got there, she saw entitled aunt outside screaming to let her in. The neighbors were already out and witnessing the commotion. Entitled aunt sees my sister and hurriedly goes to her. Entitled aunt: hey, sister, they won't let me in. Points towards the nice couple. Sister: entitled aunt, what are you doing here? Well, this was once my house and I'm not allowed to enter. What do you mean? I sold you this house, remember? And now I see that someone else is living here. Well, they are leasing the house. What? Why would you lease the house to someone I don't know? Because this is my house. I can lease it to whoever I want. At this point, my sister couldn't believe the stupidity of this situation and was kinda getting embarrassed with the neighbors looking on. So she told entitled aunt to go inside so they can discuss it. Once they were in the house, My sister introduced entitled aunt to the couple who leased the property, and the following ensued. Entitled aunt to the couple. How much did you lease the house for? Excuse me? I said, how much did you lease the house for? I'm sorry, but we don't see the need of discussing that to you. Why not? Turns to my sister and asks, how much are they paying for the lease? It's none of your business, says sister. This is my property and I'm already generous enough to have let you in. Entitled aunt. What? I sold you this beautiful house and you treat me this way? Looks at the couple again. Was the house sold to you? Tell me. And the nice husband laughs and says, look lady, even if we did buy it, we don't need to tell you the specifics since we're not dealing with you. And no, we did not buy the house. You're a liar, faces my sister. I'll take the house back now. Excuse me, are you out of your mind? No, I'm not. And it's clear to me that you're irresponsible homeowner. Takes something from her bag. Here, take this 300,000 pesos and give me my house back. 300,000 pesos? Seriously? Slams the money in EA's chest. My sister is fuming at this point. You need to leave my property right now. I won't allow you to disrespect me in front of these nice people. 300,000 when we bought this house from you for 1 million? EA, you can't kick me out of here. This is my house. Sister grabs the phone. I'm calling the cops now. EA then bolts out of there. On her way out, she screamed, I'll come back and take the house. This is not the end of this. After EA was nowhere to be seen, my sister broke down in front of the nice couple. The couple asked for a few details about EA, and they were super understanding. My sister offered to return about 1/4 of the total money they paid for the lease, but the couple said that it's not necessary. Her husband knew what happened and he was furious, to a point that he almost went to the condominium where EA was living in. But my sister was able to calm her down before anything bad happened. As of now, my sister and her husband are seeking legal advice from my eldest sister and her firm